What's going on, everyone? So today we've got something a little bit more spicy. All the other stuff that we've been playing, the pilots and the aggression, command, heroism, and the Piet and all that type of stuff, all that's pretty standard. But Ackbar here has got a little bit of a different play style, which I am excited to dive into. I had been playing around with Ackbar. Initially, I started with Ackbar Green with ECL, but actually I had one of my patrons mention Palpatine, and they had kind of messed around with it a little bit, and so we're messing around with some Palpatine today because, my goodness, my initial testing has been quite fun with double yellow Ackbar. So before we do, a big thank you to my patrons, guys. A lot of you are chatting, a lot of you are still going to those planetary qualifiers, at least well, for these last couple of weeks of set 3. But I cannot wait to dive into some set 4, especially when all of those cards are actually released. Also, I have a TCG player link in the description down below. Be sure to use it for any set 4 card you want to pick up. Let's talk about Ackbar and a few things we are doing with him. So, of course, for those of you that don't know what Ackbar does, he's got an action to pay 1 and exhaust Ackbar to exhaust a non-leader unit. If you do, you can create, or rather, its controller creates an X-Wing. So it's not necessarily limited to you or limited to your opponent. You can choose. This deck is kind of built to take advantage of being able to just exhaust our own units and then get value from that while kind of stalling out our opponent throughout the game. When you flip them over for 6, instead of being an action to pay 1, it's now just on the leader body, which is a 3/8 on deploying for 6, which is very expensive. So how do we take advantage of this? How do we go all the way with Ackbar here? Well, the basic idea with Ackbar Yellow is to play a highly disruptive deck as much as we can, and then end the game by kind of using these cheap units mixed with very disruptive elements to constantly create more and more X-Wings until you get a critical mass and we just start attacking. Now, it's important to note that you can exhaust those tokens to create more tokens. So let's say on turn 1, we get a unit down. Turn 2, we exhaust that unit to create an X-Wing token. We can then use that X-Wing token to further make more X-Wing tokens, which the idea is we kind of want to do this once a turn, right? And so what do we got here on turn 1? Well, we have a bunch of really survivable / multiple deployable threats. We have 8 1-drops in Cartel Turncoat, Greedo, and R2D2. These are obviously in the deck because if we're going to go with a 1-drop, we want to be deploying 2 on that turn so that we can actually guarantee 1 lives for the most part. Then we've got 6 copies of 2 resource plays that are shielded in Crafty Smuggler and L3. And of course, we want a bunch of cheap plays anyways because we're going to be paying 1 for the Ackbar action a lot. So we want cheaper plays. We've got in our 3-drop slot more disruptive. We've got Bodhi's, and we also have Millennium Falcons and Ezra's. Millennium Falcons work really nicely to go ahead and kill off opposing space units early on so that we can keep our X-Wings alive or just getting in for some damage. Ezra helps us find more action off the top. In our 4-drop slot, this is where it gets a little bit interesting because we have the Palpatines, which if Palpatine's on the board, all of our tokens now enter play ready. Now, also, if we are trading off with units, we can potentially be creating more tokens in the Clone Trooper tokens with Palpatine, which can work really nicely. This is quite an interesting card in our deck because we get immediately readied up tokens. We have Ahsoka Tano, a great addition. Again, just another disruptive element that could potentially exhaust some opponent's units. Then we've got our 5-drops, which are both ambushers. We've got Han Solo and Plo Koon. Han Solo has the upside of being able to be deployed on a unit, including our Millennium Falcon, which is going to be really excellent, or our bigger Millennium Falcon, which comes out in ambushes. And then we've got 1 copy of Mandalorian, which is kind of an exhauster or / a piloter if we do end up doing that. Then we got more disruptive elements. We've got 5 bounce options, 2 spare the targets, 3 waylays, 2 spark railings to attack our opponent's hand alongside Bodhi and Ahsoka. This is actually going to be really nice because we can fill in that last resource with the action of Ackbar. We've got 2 copies of Bamboozle. We have basically all cunning cards in our deck besides the R2D2. So this is really nice, especially when our opponents are playing pilots because those are going to get returned to their hand. And then we got surprise strikes to pump up potentially our X-Wings to trade in or just get in some extra damage. But that's going to be the deck, topped off with cunning as our last event that we got to talk about. So let's see what we could do here with Ackbar Yellow Not going to say this is an insane deck by any means, but it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be exhausting a bunch of stuff and hopefully creating a lot of X-Wings. Let's get into it. All right, starting off, we got ourselves a matchup against Piet Red, which is going to be a little bit scary, I will admit. This type of deck doesn't really want to be fighting against a bunch of repeatable, massive, big ships coming down. But we'll see what we can do. Looks like our opponent is a fan, so I'm going to say thank you for that. Looks like they took the Kylo deck to a tournament. We're going to go to Mulligan that one, and, well, I actually like this hand quite a bit. We have a pretty decent curve here. I'm actually going to resource this Millennium Falcon, and I actually will go ahead and resource probably the Waylay, because I'm thinking I'll want to go turn one Crafty Smuggler, exhausted to create an X-Wing, probably, and then play something else. But we will see exactly what we want to do here. Han Solo looking a little bit expensive, so we're going to go ahead and resource that one. They've got a resupply, which is kind of what I was hoping to avoid. But I think I will go with a Bodhi here just to be able to take away anything in their hand. Looks like they got Ruthless Raider and TIE Carrier. TIE Carrier, not exactly scared of that. Ruthless Raider can be pretty good, though. Let's go ahead and just get in damage into their base here. Let's pass. We've got Cartel Turncoat, a Waylay. They can absolutely play their Ruthless Raider out this turn. If they do that, I think I'll just resource this Cartel Turncoat because of that. They'll probably will play their Ruthless Raider or their TIE Carrier, although I'm not sure if TIE Carrier is really all that great to be playing. Gonna get rid of that shield token here. Okay. I think in that case, what I will do is just go ahead and attack into their base. And I might be going for a Palpatine this turn. Might be going for a Palpatine this turn. Play that, play a Ruthless Raider. Sure, not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and get in for 3 into their base. Piet's going to be a little bit scary in this spot, right? Because we are going to just constantly have big space units coming down. And I don't know if we're really going to be able to keep up. Bamboozle is pretty nice, however. I will resource this R2. Anything to like cheat on some costs is going to be pretty nice. Let's see what my opponent has here. Hopefully they don't have anything too crazy. We know they have the TIE Carrier potentially in their hand. Let's go ahead and get in with an attack. Actually, let's go ahead and exhaust our Bodhi to go ahead and create an X-Wing here. They've got a Piet. Okay, not too bad for us. Let's go ahead and get in for 2 with that X-Wing. They've got a TIE Carrier, which is going to come down with that Piet. Makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and get in an attack. Actually, hold on. Let's go ahead and... Do I want to Waylay? I'll play the Greedo, actually, just because it's cheap. I want to get in an attack with the Palpatine and create another readied up token to go ahead and get in another attack. Get an attack in with that Chancellor Palpatine, create a Clone Trooper token that is immediately readied up. Okay, they're going to trade off their token. That makes a reasonable amount of sense. Let's go ahead and waylay this Piet. And then pass. Double surprise strike. Okay. That might be able to do some work here. So let's go ahead and resource that R2. I'm not really convinced about this this lineup right now that we've got. I think we're gonna be in a losing position quite quickly here. Let's go surprise strike in for 6. Remember, we can deploy out Ackbar here. Let's go ahead and I suppose we will deploy our Ackbar. They've got a Yularen. Interesting. Let's go ahead and attack, exhaust this guy, create a X-Wing token, and we'll see what my opponent has here. Any attack here is going to be pretty useful for us because we'll have 6 damage with the Greedo or Bodhi. Pass, spare the target. Is our draw alongside Greedo. I was trying to figure out the best, most optimal way to get in damage, but I was thinking maybe if they have something to go ahead and ambush out or something to play, it could be pretty bad for us. Devastator's not going to be the answer though. They can go and absolutely kill on an Ackbar, but we have Surprise Strike here. And we are just going to Surprise Strike in for 6, and that is going to be GG. So our opponent kind of did the space thing, right? They had the Yularen early to heal up, and our draw was a little bit odd because they had the Piet to ambush out these space units, and their space units were just going to dwarf our X-Wings. So very odd matchup. Kind of a tough one for us, especially if they're on the initiative, because if we had initiative, we would have gone Bodhi, taken their resupply, and then they would have been behind a lot more. But because we didn't have initiative, it was a little bit more tricky to do so. Regardless, the thermal oscillator, I think, was the downside here. Now, they were able to ambush their Piet Devastator in for our base to 29 HP. So if they did not have the thermal oscillator, I think they would have won. I am not a personally huge fan of thermal oscillator, but hey, maybe they've had some good experiences with it. On to the next one. Into our next game, and we've got 14 turn 1 plays in the deck, so we're going to be mulliganing this one into a reasonable hand. Very, very reasonable. Looks like we got a Saj on the opposing side of the battlefield. I'm going to resource this Millennium Falcon, and I think I will be resourcing the Ezra, because I'd rather keep the disruptive elements in my hand. Looks like they got a Dr. Pershing. We're going to go with an L3. So let's go ahead and get that shield token on that L3. Deal damage to go ahead and get rid of that shield token. Makes sense here. And we're going to go ahead and claim initiative. We got Spark of Rebellion here. I think that's pretty bad against the deck that's going to have... Oh, well, I mean, I could waylay this, but that seems pretty bad too. You know what? We will go ahead and just waylay the Dr. Pershing. Just get it off the battlefield. I think that's totally fine. It's going to use up all of our resources. They're going to ECL out the Interceptor Ace, huh? I am totally fine with that. If that's their usage of the ECL, that is completely fine with me. Let's go ahead and resource this. And I think what we'll want to do is just go ahead and get down the Chancellor Palpatine. Now, they do have options here. They can go ahead and attack Palpatine and lose their Interceptor Ace. And then they got this action from Asajj. Asajj, which can go ahead and get in for a little bit more damage, right? Bring our Palpatine down to 1 HP. But I think we're going to have a good chance to be able to go with a Cunning turn. A Cunning to bounce, and then we exhaust the Clone Trooper token that's immediately readied, then create an X-Wing token. So we're up 2 tokens, bounce whatever they have, and potentially get an exhaust in. Wow, they're going to go ahead and take down. Wow, okay. I mean, that's fine. That totally works. Let's go ahead and get rid of this Mandalorian. I think it's going to be pretty worthless here at this point in the game. Especially since we want to get down more things. They've got a Banshee here, and we're going to go ahead and claim initiative. Going to deal 1 damage. And they're going to go ahead and just pump this up, I imagine. I think that's the plan there. Let's go ahead and resource this Cartel Turncoat. I think what I'll do is go ahead and return and give a unit +4/+4. +4/+0, I should say. Which is going to be that Palpatine. Power of the Dark Side. Wow. Okay, so our opponent's kind of got all the answers here. They're basically playing a control deck is what the game plan over there is. Let's go ahead and deploy Ackbar. Get in for 3. Just start getting in some damage. We got Millennium Falcon, which I do like. I think Ahsoka's pretty bad at this spot when they have a million cards in their hand. They got a Darth Vader, huh? Okay, Darth Vader's pretty good. I'm a little bit worried about Super Laser Blast is what I would be worried about. Hylobot Enforcer and Inferno 4, huh? Okay. I think what I want to do is... just get in with Ackbar. Create an X-Wing token here. Go ahead and they're going to deal damage to get rid of the shield token, I imagine. Let's go with Millennium Falcon here. Are they going to deploy Asajj in the Inferno 4 is the question. No, they're just going to go ahead and use Asajj here. I think what I want to do is get in the Millennium Falcon and then attack their base for 5. And then they can go ahead and finish off Ackbar. That's totally fine. And they're going to claim initiative, huh? Okay. In that case, I will keep the Millennium Falcon running. Because I imagine they're just going to go Super Laser Blast here. They got Snoke, huh? Wow. Okay, Snoke. That's pretty good. Certainly pretty good. Let's go ahead and... I would like to go ahead and give a unit +4/+0 and exhaust. So we'll buff the Ackbar, exhaust. And that's going to allow us to exhaust the Millennium Falcon and create another unit. Ooh, they're going to go ahead and let us draw a card. Oh, I guess they're undoing that. I guess they didn't realize that Ackbar was going to live. Very, very strong hand from our opponent doing all these things to mess up our kind of start, right? We really wanted to start chaining together a bunch of X-Wings, and we just didn't get that. So our opponent, I mean, they have two options, right? Attack or take initiative. Let's go ahead and just get in for 7. I will exhaust the Millennium Falcon. Wait. Oh, I forgot that Snoke existed. Yeah, that would have been my mistake. I thought it was a bug for a second, but nope, Snoke existed. I'll go ahead and exhaust the Millennium Falcon because that's what I attempted to do initially. So we'll just go ahead and exhaust. And that was an accident. That was my mistake. So we'll go ahead and take that. For some reason, I was like, oh, wait, why is it not working? But Snoke exists, obviously. So that was pretty unfortunate for us. Definitely a tough matchup when your opponent's just going to be removing all of the stuff here. I will go ahead and pay 1 to keep the Millennium Falcon running here. I would have gotten an extra 3 damage, which would have been reasonably good. But I don't think it matters here. I think we've lost. I think we have lost. The takedown plus the power of the dark side in the early game is just too good. And then the Asajj, ooh, that's going to be GG. They've got the Vigilance, so GG to our opponent. Definitely a more controlling deck, and those are the types of decks that really we struggle against if we're not able to deploy multiple things. If turn 1 we got double 1-drop down, then we would have been in a good spot because then they couldn't necessarily go ahead and do their deal damage, get rid of my thing. We wouldn't have been in a waylay spot. We could have gone Spark Rebellion plus the action off of Ackbar. But because they had all of the things to kind of remove my early game units, and specifically the Asajj action to remove my units because getting rid of the shield token, that's what put us in a bad spot. And well played from our opponent. And we also made a couple misplays, so GG. Into our next matchup. We've got a pretty good hand here, actually. I'm thinking we go R2 plus Cartel Turncoat on turn 1, followed up by L3 plus make an X-Wing token into Chancellor Palpatine, which looks pretty solid. We'll see what my opponent decides to do over there with the Emperor Palpatine yellow. I did resource the Bamboozle and Spark Rebellion because I'm not expecting any pilots, and Spark Rebellion, I mean, it can be good, but I think we just want to curve out and try to kill our opponent, to be honest. So we'll see what they've got, but we're going to go with an R2 here. That's a Millennium Falcon. Put that on the bottom. I think I could find something a little bit better than that. Ooh, and then we're going to go Cartel Turncoat, which is going to look pretty nice here. And then we'll see what my opponent decides to do. So let's go ahead and pass. Got ourselves a Chancellor Palpatine Part 2 and a Waylay. I think I'll resource the second Palpatine. And we'll see what my opponent wants to do here. That is a super laser technician. So I think what I want to do here is just get in 4-2 into the base. Play out the L3 and then make an X-Wing token. See if they decide to hit the Cartel Turncoat. I think you're pretty tempted to do so right here. And they did. So let's go with L3. Make an X-Wing token. All right, opponent, you got nothing else to do. Let's claim initiative. Come on. There we go. Exhaust, create an X-Wing. We've got an Ahsoka Tano here and a Millennium Falcon. I think I'm going to resource the Millennium Falcon. Don't expect too many space units right now from our opponent. So we're going to go ahead and resource that one. And let's see here. What does my opponent have? Take a little while to resource, but that's okay. What do they have? A Royal Guard, huh? Ooh, we're going to waylay that Super Laser Technician then. Just going to go ahead and get in that waylay. I think it's going to be super important that that happen, just to avoid any ramping. I think our opponent went with a Royal Guard, expecting it to have Sentinel, but it doesn't. Now they're going to be able to go ahead and kill that Cartel Turncoat. Oh, they didn't? Oh, I'm going to get in for 2 then. I'm a little bit surprised they're not just trying to preserve their life total. They are actually, when they claimed initiative, strange, to be honest. I would have expected them to do something very different. And now we can go Palpatine, exhaust a unit, have it enter immediately, which is going to be pretty nice. And I'll go ahead and resource this Crafty Smuggler. Or the Ahsoka. Maybe it's more worthwhile. No, I think the Crafty Smuggler is probably pretty solid to go ahead and exhaust to resource here. I'm a little bit surprised as to how my opponent's playing this. I would have expected them to sacrifice the battle droid to get rid of the Cartel Turncoat. I would have also expected that to have been the first play they made, was to defeat their own Super Laser Technician to go ahead and kill my Cartel Turncoat, just so they can avoid the 2 damage and guarantee that Super Laser Tech ramps them. But neither of the things happened, and they also didn't defeat their battle droid token to get rid of that Cartel Turncoat after I waylaid. So a little bit surprising kind of across the board there, but we are generating quite a little bit of an army here, which is kind of sweet. Let's see what my opponent has. What do you have, opponent? You got 5 resources. Let's see it. Super Laser Technician. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get in with Cartel Turncoat. Guarantee that damage. Guaranteeing that damage. What do you have? Are you going to defeat your Super Laser Technician and kill this Cartel Turncoat? Maybe the battle droid? I'm not sure. Maybe you just attack R2 with the Royal Guard. I think that's a reasonable play as well. You could also kill my L3 with a battle droid attack plus a Royal Guard. I don't know. My opponent's just sitting out for now. We'll see what they decide to do here. Getting in for 3 damage. I'm a little bit surprised about that one. I don't know why they're not hitting my units, to be honest. Getting in for some more damage. We will also get in for some damage. I don't really care about their units. Like, they can use their action as much as they want. Cloud Rider, huh? They're going to hit the L3. Very odd. I don't really know what's going on here, to be honest. I don't really know what's going on with what's happening on their side of the battlefield. They didn't use their action again. I suppose we're going to get in for a little bit of a damage chunk here. I mean, we have Bodhi plus Spark of Rebellion, which both look really good when we're looking at a bunch of probably non-unit cards over there. Let's See what my opponent has. Lots of X-Wings on our side of the battlefield. Let's see it, opponent. Let's see it. We're just waiting for our opponent to resource at this point. What do you have? What do you have? This is taking a little bit, but you know, what are they gonna do? I mean, they have a few other options here. Overwhelming Barrage would be the card I'd most want, I think, in their spot. You could knock out 2 X-Wings and a Cartel Turncoat and put us in a pretty bad spot, I would say. Granted, we would still have like L3, and I would immediately attack with Palpatine if that were to happen, because I would get a Clone Trooper token. So we would still be able to get in some damage, absolutely. And then we would follow it up probably with the Millennium Falcon just being smuggled out. Just make a big body. And of course, mind you, we would have Ackbar coming down. So that would be really quite excellent on this turn as well, because we will be able to get multiple potentially ready up tokens. But I think we won, and I don't really want to sit around and wait. So let's move on to the next matchup. Into our next matchup, we've got ourselves a match against Vader Yellow. Love Vader. I'm going to go to Mulligan this one. Not a fantastic hand by any means. This one's a good amount better. The R2 plus Greedo's not too bad. Our opponent has the initiative, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, well, we're going to see what they've got. Spare the Target could be pretty good. I'm actually going to keep that one. And I will go ahead and actually keep this Millennium Falcon, because it can go ahead and interact with some of their space units, I believe, on the initial turns that they're going to be playing. They've got a TIE Bomber. That's fine. Let's see. We got another Millennium Falcon. Let's go ahead and put that on the bottom. Let's go ahead and get this Greedo out. And let's pass. TIE Bomber, huh? Would not have expected the TIE Bomber. But, you know, hey. They're going to get an attack almost assuredly here. Oh, no. That is horrible for them. So they just go with a pilot here. This is why I always recommend just to get in an attack as soon as you possibly can. It is probably worst case scenario for them for this to happen, because now I have removed their pilot and I have reset their turn. They can go to replay the TIE Bomber, but now they're not going to be able to use the Darth Vader action, which is going to be really nice for us. We've got Palpatine. I'll go ahead and keep that on top. We're going to go ahead and get in with this Greedo, and then we're going to pass. Got another surprise strike. We have Spare the Target, though. I'm going to keep that Spare the Target in hand. I do think we will probably be using that soon, so let's go ahead and resource this surprise strike. I do imagine that my opponent's only interaction will be waylays or just interacting in space. Maybe they have no good to me deads. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. They've got another pilot. Oh my gosh, they did it again. I definitely do not recommend. I think you should just immediately attack. Like, you could do this and you wouldn't get an extra damage. Like, you literally just get one more damage in, because you can play this on a TIE Fighter token, but then you get an attack with TIE Bomber and suddenly you get 2 additional tokens, and you'd be sitting there with 4 TIE Fighter tokens and have a pilot on another unit. Granted, I'd have a bigger board as well, but still. Ooh, I like that. That was a really, really interesting play. So they're going to exploit away all their stuff. And I think that's really interesting to go ahead and just generate a lot of value out of those spare TIE Fighter tokens using the exploits from set 2, or set 3 rather. Really cool stuff. I love that, to be honest. Let's go ahead and get rid of this Ezra. Probably going to deploy this Chancellor Palpatine this turn, but we will see what happens. I haven't seen someone go ahead and play out that Tri-Droid Suppressor, but it was very, very interesting and a solid play, might I add. Let's go ahead and get in with this Greedo. And let's see what my opponent decides to do here. They do get an attack in with a vehicle, which means they can go ahead and, well, get in a TIE Fighter. Let's go with Chancellor Palpatine here, so we can exhaust this X-Wing and then go ahead and... Wow! They have the Death Space Skirmisher here, exhausting our X-Wing, which is quite excellent, might I say. Let's go ahead and get an attack with Greedo here. And I think we're in pretty big trouble at this point. Our hand isn't that great at this stage of the game. We got a spare Greedo. I could have kept the Millennium Falcon and ambushed it out, but I just don't think that's how we're going to win the game. And let's see how my opponent goes about this turn. Okay, they're going to go ahead and just kill off my unit, which I think is totally fine. Let's go ahead and get in an attack with the Palpatine, create a Clone Trooper token, kind of just getting a little bit of free value there. And then let's see what they've got to follow that up. Clone Trooper token being immediately readied is quite nice. They've played a death... Oh, they're using the Vader action. Okay, I'm gonna play a Bodhi Rook. They got resupply carrier, TIE bomber, and first order TIE fighter. So nothing too impactful, I'll say. Not gonna get an attack in with this Clone Trooper yet. So I'm gonna play out the resupply carrier. Okay. Let's go ahead and just get in. I suppose let's just get in some damage with this Clone Trooper. Let's go ahead and deploy the Ackbar. My opponent's definitely trying to stall out some actions here so they can figure out what I've got. But I think they should just be killing my units. Like, putting Darth Vader on the Tri-Droid Interceptor is going to be suppressor is going to be decent. They can knock out the Ackbar, but I actually don't think Ackbar is all that relevant. I actually think that they should just be going face here is how you really go about it. They can kill off the Palpatine. I think that's pretty relevant, but outside of that, just going face is going to be pretty impactful. And now we get to go Millennium Falcon, and if they are able to attack with the Headhunter, we're able to exhaust the Millennium Falcon, generate another 2/2, and then get in. And that's going to give us another unit just for them to have to deal with. My opponent's thinking, though. They are thinking. What do I want to do with this Vader? Do I want to attack? What do I want to do? Let's see, opponent. Let's see it. Or not. What are you going to do, opponent? Let's see it. We need some sort of action here. Ooh, I might have to skip ahead, guys. I might have to skip ahead. I don't know. Maybe we're DC. Maybe the Carabas is crashing. We disconnected. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we disconnected or someone disconnected. Maybe that's what happened in the previous game too. I'm not sure. This one's a lot closer though, which is a lot more interesting for me to go ahead and see. I'm surprised my opponent didn't just deploy Vader and then try to get an attack with the Outer Rim Headhunter and maybe exhaust something. I can't tell now if we're DC. Oh no, they're activating Darth Vader. They're gonna put it on the Headhunter. Yeah, they're gonna put it on the Headhunter. Let's go ahead and just get an attack, exhaust this to create another 2/2. So now my opponent kind of has to figure out, okay, do I want to kill this 2/2 that's gonna get in damage immediately, or do I want to kill the Millennium Falcon? They're gonna ignore. They're just gonna exhaust. I think that's actually probably the smartest play. They're gonna race us, which I think is fair. I suppose we'll keep this running. Ooh. I'll resource this Greedo. And I think I'll just play Bamboozle on this to put Darth Vader back into the resource pile. And then I can pilot out this Han Solo. Yeah, Vader is in his hand. But a little bit of a bug there. Love that. I noticed that when they got a +1 card there, I was like, I wonder if it went to their hand, and it looks like it did. So we'll see what my opponent decides to do here. We've got a few options. It's definitely a tricky game. Definitely a tricky game. We have a lot of kind of mini damaging units. Now, we did get rid of the big hitter on there, so they have Darth Vader. And right now they have 4, 7, 11, 15 damage, which is pretty nice. But I think what we'll do is probably just get in an attack with this X-Wing. Just get in an attack. And then we can go ahead and exhaust a unit, get another X-Wing with this Ackbar. And if they decide to go ahead and go for Ackbar with this Tri-Droid, then Tri-Droid dies. And then we'll get in an attack with all these other things anyways. And that'll be fine as well. Yep, they're going to go ahead and go for Ackbar. That's fine. Let's go ahead and get in with Palpatine, creating another Clone Trooper token. They're trying to control the board a little bit more now, but I think it might be a little bit too late is the only thing. I mean, we have lethal on board, but we have lethal on board, which is 10 damage. For some reason, I was like, we have 10. And then I was like, no, we have 8. But we have lethal on board, so they have to have something. 3 of their cards are unknown. One of the cards is that Vader Leader, which they shouldn't technically have in hand, but that's okay. They're going to get an attack. Okay, we're going to get an attack. They're going to get an attack. We're going to get an attack. This is definitely favoring us for sure, because we got a lot of mini damaging attacks. Another Tri-Droid Suppressor. They can exhaust that out. Sure. I will get in an attack again with that Clone Trooper. And now they're at 29, which means every single one of my units is lethal. And we will see what my opponent has. Wingman Victor 3. Okay, let's go ahead and just take initiative then. All right, opponent. They're just getting in attacks for fun, so GG. And that's going to be that. Definitely a interesting one. I think my opponent, if they hadn't gone with those Victor plays, they would have probably had a good chance of winning. They definitely would have been higher on base because they would have gotten 2 additional TIE Fighter tokens in the early stages of the game, and they still would have been able to deploy those pilots on those units. So I guess it depends, because we would have been able to deploy our units as we were planning to, but because Waylay was such a powerful play, we went with that instead. So it'd be interesting to see that game play back in a different way. Got ourselves a pretty nice hand here against Boba Green. Probably a lot of space units, but we're going to just start off with a double 1-drop situation going on. And ooh, TIE Silencer looks pretty bad in the face of some X-Wings. So let's go ahead and pass here. Ooh, Crafty Smuggler was a pretty nice draw, to be honest. Very, very happy with that one. And I'll resource this, spare the target. The reason I'm happy about these cheap plays is because I can create an X-Wing token as well as get this Crafty Smuggler down, which is kind of what I want to be doing. So let's go Crafty Smuggler, and let's create an X-Wing token. Cunning's going to look pretty good here as well. Plo Koon, probably not where I want to be honest. So we'll see. I think I'm going to go Surprise Strike, Cartel Turncoat, and then create another X-Wing is where I'm at. I might actually go with Cunning as well. I guess we'll have to decide here, depending on what they decide to do first. They got an Super Laser Technician, huh? No, I won't discard a card to Greedo. There, Boba Fett can come down soon. So I think what I'll want to do is just... Oh, man. What do I want to do here? Yeah, I know it's my turn. Let's see. Do I want to go on aggressive, or do I want to... I think what I want to do is go aggressive. I think I'm just going to hit the base and then go with a Surprise Strike, Cartel Turncoat, and then create another X-Wing token. See what my opponent decides to do. See, now they have to make the choice of being the aggressors or not. Super Laser Technician in the Boba Green, huh? A little bit odd. Would not have expected that one. Dengar. Dengar's pretty nice. Well, now what I think I'll do is go with return +4/+0. Because we're just going to get a nice 2-for-1 there. And avoid a lot of damage. Keep Surprise Strike. I think we can bottom that one pretty safely. And then we'll get in another attack for 2. And then we'll pass. Another Crafty Smuggler. Another R2. Not exactly what I wanted to see. These are cheap plays for sure. But I wanted to do a little bit more with my turn, to be honest. Let's go ahead and get rid of this R2. Now remember, Boba can be deployed and go ahead and knock out some units here. For sure. Get rid of that shield token. Makes sense. All of that makes sense. Let's go ahead and just Surprise Strike in for 5 here. They can get in for 8, which is a massive chunk for sure. We'll go ahead and deploy another Crafty Smuggler. Ruthless Raider, huh? Okay, Ruthless Raider's pretty solid. Let's go ahead and create an X-Wing token. That shouldn't happen. Wait, what? Oh, whoops. There we go. I thought I could create an X-Wing token, but I can't. Whoops, that was my mistake. I thought I had an extra resource. That was totally my mistake. I ended up using the Cartel Turncoat, which is what I should have done. But I was thinking I had another resource. Planetary Bombardment, huh? So they have 12 damage here. So I can go... We'll go 2 to Cartel Turncoat, 1 to Crafty Smuggler, 2 to that, and then the rest to base. But that's going to be game, huh? I mean, I suppose I can give them an X-Wing token. How much damage do I have? I actually have enough. Let's go ahead and exhaust nothing. Oh, that's a leader unit, of course. So we'll just go ahead and exhaust that and then say GG. That's going to be GG. Nothing else I can do. The Planetary Bombardment was too strong in terms of damage. I could have divvied up the damage a little bit differently, but that Boba Fett coming down, just dealing with so many units, is just too strong. Into our next matchup, and this one's going to bring me some joy. We've got double green Leia on the side of my opponent versus double yellow Ackbar, which is pretty fun to see. I definitely think that my opponent's going to do some work this game. We got Crafty Smuggler. Sure, I'll keep that on top. I think that's a reasonable card to keep. They've got an A-Wing, huh? Okay, A-Wing's pretty bad against us, so not too sad about that one. Ooh, and we're going to go ahead and claim initiative and double Crafty Smuggler, huh? I think I just spare the target on this A-Wing to just preserve my life total here. Get rid of that R2. Nice little 2-for-1 there. Again, I don't mind stalling out the game a little bit because we want to get to like Palpatine and like these key pieces. We want to get those down first. Let's go ahead and just get in for 1. There's a Bodhi. I'll put that on bottom. I mean, Leia coming down, that's not too bad. Going to get in for 3 here. Pass. We got a Bamboozle. Bamboozle, pretty weak right now. Leia's a good stat line for them, for sure. Command, huh? What are they? Ramp plus give to experience? Yeah, that's what I imagined was going to happen. Bamboozle would have been pretty nice here, huh? Let's go ahead and just get in for 3 here into their base. See if they decide to kill the R2. They do not. Let's go ahead and get down a Palpatine then. They're going to go ahead and flip over Leia. Sure, let's go ahead and get in for 1. Bottom that guy. Don't really care about that. I think we're in pretty big trouble here, to be honest. They're just going to go ahead and get in some value hits. Cunning would be the card that we really want to see. Ooh, spare the target is pretty good as well. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to waylay this Leia back to hand. That's just pretty good here. And then we can get down a Crafty Smuggler, which is going to be pretty nice as well. But waylay, really solid here. I think just because what we're going to be able to do after that is Palpatine attack, get a Clone Trooper token. And then if they decide they can, let's see. They've got an ambushing rogue squadron skirmisher, huh? Interesting. Would not have expected that. Very interesting. Probably kill the Greedo here. Yeah, let's go ahead and discard a card to Greedo. Ooh, we hit a Cunning, huh? Okay, let's go ahead and just get in an attack with the Palp. R2-D2, huh? Do I even care about that, really? Probably not. I think I'd rather have Cunning, to be honest. Oh, they're going to go with that, huh? I'm surprised they decided to go that direction. Let's pass and resource probably this Cartel Turncoat, I imagine. And we'll see what my opponent wants to do here. They can absolutely get an attack with both these because these are rebels, remember? So they can attack with Leia, then attack with the Rogue Squadron Skirmisher. And here we will want to go ahead and get rid of that Rogue Squadron Skirmisher because this 2 damage is just plus 2 damage with Chancellor Palpatine attack. So that's going to be pretty worthwhile. Let's go ahead and actually kill the Leia. I think we do actually want to get rid of some of these units. Ooh, U-Wing reinforcement could be pretty strong here for them. Maybe I was playing a little bit too aggressive. I should have probably swapped into a little bit more of a defensive stance a little bit earlier. I'm surprised they didn't just attack with Leia, though. They're trying to grab Chewbacca, Millennium Falcon, which they can't. A little bit too expensive. I suppose, wait, are they trying to pilot? I can't remember what the developer said about pilots. A-Wing, Millennium Falcon. Okay, that is a lot of units, huh? So let's go with Millennium Falcon of our own. And let's start probably just picking off units, huh? So we're going to go ahead and get in an attack here. We're going to exhaust R2. Get an attack in here. Flip this guy. Get an attack in here. Exhausting this one. Play out the Crafty Smuggler. And then get in an attack in on the Millennium Falcon. And then pass. So that was pretty sweet. In terms of value plays there. We've got Bodhi and Plo Koon. We're just going to keep the Plo Koon. Lots of small units, but you can see how much value the Palpatine brings on that turn. That was just pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That was pretty crazy. Traitorous over. Okay. So I think we just go ahead and kill the Millennium Falcon then. Yeah, you can traitorous over the other Millennium Falcon, and ooh, they're gonna put a Chewbacca on that one, huh? That puts us in a bad spot. Let's smuggle out the big Millennium Falcon. They're going to get in for 6. We're going to claim initiative. We can't attack at all because we need. Ooh. Okay. So we can Han Solo. And then we played as a pilot, get in, hit their Millennium Falcon. I'm glad we took out the other Millennium Falcon, though. Home 1. Oh my gosh. They just have banger after banger here. Interesting. Let's claim initiative. We don't have an answer, huh? I love that R2 onto the home one, by the way. That's awesome. I think that was a really... Actually, they should have played the Chewy, right? Because they could have done that instead. So we can exhaust the home one, attack it, then play the Millennium Falcon and attack it, which does work, I suppose. It's not great, but it does work. Now, this is a tricky game. Oh my gosh. Waiting on my opponent. Oh, it looks like one of us DC'd. Exhaust the home one, give them an X-Wing token. Let's see what they have to follow that up with. Another U-Wing reinforcements. Man, they got banger after banger. Look at this go. I love it. The Traitorous was huge, by the way. Traitorous was absolutely huge. What do they have? What do they have? Bright Hope. Ooh, is that the end of it? I don't know. Bright Hope was an insane pickup. It was absolutely an insane pickup. There is no answer anymore. We don't have any answer. We have the Millennium Falcon. We have the other Han Solo, which comboed to go out and kill the home one. We don't really have any answer past that. We can go out and get in as much damage as we possibly can. Not that that really matters here. Just for fun. Just for fun. Get in a nice chunk and we'll pass. Pay 1. GG to our opponent. Well done. Well done. I believe they should have been able to pilot off the U-Wing reinforcement, but I'm not sure. Because play each of them for free. I don't know how the sequencing works. Like if you're able to go ahead and what? I mean, they're gonna let us win, but I don't know why. Oh, I mean, they can use Leia's action too. No, they can't, because this is a you know, don't stop your opponent. Oh no, they got the... No, it's not a rebel. Oh, we win, but we shouldn't have won, guys. That's obviously a loss. You know, don't stop your opponent when they're making a mistake, right? Just let them make their mistake. GG to our opponent. Definitely interesting. That Traitor is really doing some work there. They had the Chewbacca in hand as well as the one they were trying to play off U-Wing reinforcements. So I wasn't expecting that, but certainly an interesting deck. I definitely had some fun with this one. It was very, very interesting to jump into all these different games. Very different style. And even in that last game, we actually took advantage of being able to exhaust our opponent's units. Not that we actually did win. Their U-Wing reinforcements ended up being really, really good in each of those stages. But we did some major work with Palpatine and Ackbar. All right, so what did we learn with Ackbar Yellow, guys? Well, it was a lot of fun. It was very, very interesting, but I don't find it to be extremely strong. One of the things right now that you're going to have to realize is when you're testing out in set 4, it's going to be skewed a little bit for sure, because a lot of people are just playing space decks because that's what set 4 is really all about. And this deck, while it does do decently against space decks with spare the targets and waylays and getting rid of pilots and stuff, it doesn't actually have the ability to maintain control. The 2/2s that you're creating for one resource aren't actually all that strong in those situations. And then the fact that you play a bunch of kind of weaker units or like exhausting your own units to create a bunch of X-Wings with Palpatine, it can do some work. But honestly, the games that we won just felt like our opponents making small mistakes. And if they hadn't done that exact sequence, then we would have been in trouble. There were some really cool synergies, like getting Palpatine down does make this deck feel way stronger. But remember, Palpatine's a 4-resource 2/6 and can easily die to a multitude of different things. And it has to get in an attack, really, because when you're playing it on turn 3, it's just 4 resource 2/6. It doesn't do anything else. It's the following turn where you're able to really see a lot of value. Honestly, I felt like the games I won were because of the strength of Cunnings or the strength of Millennium Falcon, whatnot, or just a well-placed Waylay. We didn't get to see Plo Koon in the deck because, again, no one's playing any ground units, really. So that would have been pretty sweet because we would have been able to trigger Coordinate quite a bit. I think one of the things you could consider in this deck is some exploit cards. I played with Geonos and Patrol Fighter, for example, a way to take advantage of all the spare units that are sitting around. I think that could be interesting, but there's really not that many great cunning exploit targets besides, or exploit cards besides like Geonos and Patrol Fighter. So definitely an interesting one. I had a lot of fun, but certainly of all the decks we have played so far, this one felt the weakest. Every other deck felt like it could do some really crazy things. This one felt like you're just dirtling a lot and you didn't really get a payoff for it. So there's Ackbar Yellow. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all for a video tomorrow.